All right, I've got a basic head shape. I've already got gouged out where the eyeballs are going to go. This is a hollow form I've been sculpting, and I can take the skull cap on and off right there. From the top of the skull to the chin, the eyes are in the center. And also, you want, if you're using calipers, you can go from the hairline, which is right here, to the eyebrow. That's a third. To where the base of the nose is going to go is a third, and to the bottom of the chin is a third. Okay. Now, the next step that I like to do is to create sort of a triangle where the peak of the triangle would be right up at the bridge of the nose, right at the root of the nasal bone. So I'm going to take off a little right here. That's going to be the bridge of the nose right there. That's a little higher than the center of the eye line, which is right here. So you can see bridge or root of nose a little higher than center of eye. Okay. And so from that, I come out and I push back at the same time. I'm going to create this triangle shape here. So the reason is because the skull has the cheekbone, the zygomatic, back farther than the brow ridge. Okay, so there should be a diagonal line like this, and the mass of the eyeball fills in with that line as well. Charlie Brown, my dog, has a cough right now. We took him to the vet, and he's going to be okay, but bear with me if you hear him in the background. Okay, so if I go like this, the mass for the eye should basically touch the knife as well as the cheekbone and the brow ridge. Okay, so they all line up. And as I push that back on both sides, I create this triangle shape. And I also start sculpting the nose and the mouth, because here's the deal. This is the nasal orifice right here, like the hole where in a skull where the nose would go. Sort of looks like that. Okay, and the nostril is going to come way back here. Okay, really that nasal orifice comes back here too, but the nasal bone is this bone up here. You can kind of see the shadow line that I just created at the top of the maxilla that projects out and starts right at the bridge and starts coming out this way. Up above that is they call it a keystone shape. A keystone is, I'll draw it down here. It's sort of a trapezoid like this. And it went at the top of arches back in medieval times and stuff. They built castles and cathedrals, Roman, all that stuff. And it was the center at the top of the arch, and all the weight from both sides of the column were compressed by the keystone, and it held things in place with gravity. Okay, so this is the same shape as this. From the root of the nose up, there's a trapezoid right here that stops about at the eyebrow line and goes down to the root of the nose. Okay, and then you have the nasal bones right here. There's two of them. They split up like this. And then the nasal orifice right here. Okay, so it's like that on the skull. So when I add that triangle here, like this, and I push back, I am creating the zygomatic, the cheekbone behind that. It is now angled back from the brow ridge up here at a diagonal, and my mass of clay that's going to become the eyeball is fitting right in here, and it will just about touch my knife as I put it in a diagonal between the cheekbone and the brow ridge. Okay, so it's also giving me depth of the eye and some space right here where the eye is receded back from the bridge of the nose. Okay, and you can see right here where my knife tip is right here. There's a space, even right up at the brow ridge. I mean, up at the root of the nose right there. Okay, so now I'm going to add that piece of clay back here, and notice that I'm not adding a whole lot. I'm just adding some stuff that may or may not be the right shape. I'm not getting carried away. It's only this much clay. Okay, but it's something to get started with. You have to have something in place in order to start shaping it. Okay, now I'm going to build out under the mass of clay a little bit right here, because there's this area of the mouth called the maxilla. It's under the base of the nose, and it's the part of the skull that comes out and holds the teeth, and it comes out at a curve. Okay, and so since this is a hollow form, I can push my fingers up underneath and push out from behind. If you're dealing with a solid form, just add clay there, or if your clay's too firm already, you can just add clay there. So now you can see a curve right here. One thing I want to talk about this stage is how from here to here, look where that upper lip's coming out. It's halfway, this is halfway between the tip of the nose and the back of the nostril. Okay. One really common mistake that people, when they start sculpting, they're just used to drawing, and then they think they can sculpt on a flat surface just like they can draw, is they'll do this. So here's the face. They'll stick the entire nose here, and then the lips under here. See, and the back of the nostril is too far. The lip comes to the back of the nostril and comes straight down. So compare that to this, where the lip comes out halfway between the back of the nostril and the tip of the nose, instead of at the very back. Okay. So I'm doing a lot of foundational work before I add any details, because just like with the foundation of a house, you have to lay that properly before you can build on it. And if I didn't study the basic skull shape at this point, and the way that the muscles and ligaments tie into it, and the angles and the proportions, then I would be redoing it later, and it would be a lot harder and a lot more frustrating. All right, so I just took out a crease behind where I know the nostril's going to go, to that third line that I that I laid in with my calipers. All right, just a real rough, crease. I can add back if I take too much off. Okay, I know also that the nose, you know, the side of the nose bridge curve off a little here. Back to that triangular indentation that I added earlier. Okay. All right, now, right where the end of the nasal bone is, right here, there begins the next step, part of the nose called, what is that called? That is called the the septal cartilage. It's two pieces of cartilage that come out right here, and they go down to the bulb of the nose, or what is called the greater alar cartilage, which is this part down here. So the septal cartilage, I probably have that too low, is in between. It's starts at the edge of the nasal bone right there, and it goes down to the bulb of the nose right here. And what's important to know about this is that at that junction where the bone stops and the cartilage starts, you're going to see a slight angle in a lot of people. So my knife is representing that angle. It goes like this at the on the nasal bone, and then when the cartilage starts, it angles down a little bit more. It kind of comes up like this. So it's like this a little bit. Okay. It's also the widest part of the nose bridge right at that junction. And if someone has a real thin nose or not a lot of body fat, you can really see that. Noses come in all sorts of different shapes and sizes, so a lot of people you can't see it, but a lot of people you can. And just to emphasize it, I'm going to make sure you can on this. Okay. All right. So there you can see that angle. Now, right at the bridge or the root of the nose, it's pretty narrow at the bone. So I just carved a little off there, but it was close to the front surface, not back. The eye socket is back in there farther, and it's wider. Okay. In fact, the nose is same width as the space in between the eyes, and the same width as the eyes. Okay, so if you know how wide your eyes are, you know basically how wide your nose is. Now that's just a generic canon of proportions, so everybody's a little different. But if I define how wide my eyes are, my nose is about the same width. And that helps me make sure that I don't rough in the eyes too close together. So there's a reason to lay this part of the face in with the nose before I do the eyes, so that things are more proportional when I get to the eyes themselves. Okay, so now I can, let's go ahead and create a little bit of a ridge, not a ridge, but a channel where the cartilage, the septal cartilage here stops, and the alar cartilage starts right here. Okay, so take out a little bit because and that alar cartilage, another name for it, is the bulb of the nose, and that's a little wider than the cartilage right above it, right here, the septal cartilage. Okay, now as the nasal bone stops right about here, and the maxilla is the bone that comes here and comes around down here and starts to shape the mouth area. But in between here and here is the same cartilage. This that I drew the line, there's two pieces, one on each side. But it's the lateral cartilage, meaning the side of the septal cartilage, lateral septal cartilage over here. Okay. And it fills in this sort of sideways triangle shape in between the front part of the cartilage and the nostril. Okay. Okay. Now, the alar cartilage flares out and it angles like that because the nostril itself is behind that, and you get a lot of triangles in the nose. But another name for the alar for the nostril is the alar fat. Okay. Because there's no cartilage in here. There's a couple of little pieces of cartilage back in here, but they're floating around, I guess, in the fat there. And so you have this other little channel. So there's a space or a channel or a shadow that occurs in between the bulb of the nose, the alar cartilage, and the nostril fat, or some people also call it the wing. And adding just a little more clay here. Okay. Now, this trench that goes around the nostril goes in pretty deep, especially right here. It's pretty deep. And then it trenches out pretty deep that direction into the nasolabial fold. And then in a lot of people, it starts to blend away and you can't see it. It just fades into a slight shadow as it goes around the mouth. As you age, your cheek muscles and your skin creates a bigger wrinkle there, and you can really see that. They call it the smile line too, that, or the laugh line. But the younger people don't have it as pronounced right there. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to match both sides. Whoops. Trying to angle it for the camera. I'm only seeing one side, so I have to stop every once in a while and get them matched back up. The mass. Okay. Notice I'm doing a lot more taking away than I am adding to. But it's very subtle. It's just small little pieces, and it's really starting to have accurate anatomical form. With small additions and subtractions instead of giant ones, because I already had the triangle pushed in and the proportions in the right spots, and so it didn't take a lot of change from that point. Okay. So just roughing it in. I'm not trying to form all the details and finish surface anatomy or anything at this stage. Okay, just trying to match one side to the other. All right, next thing I want to talk about is the bottom of the nostril down here. Because one thing a lot of people like to do is they know there's a hole in the nostril, so they'll take a tool like this and they'll just drill way up in there. See? And they'll say, okay, I've got the nostril formed now. Well, I want to show you something. So I'm going to tilt this back. That is a dark shadow. And there's no other shadow on the whole face that's that dark and deep. And I didn't even drill it out as much as a lot of people do it. Like they'll do this. Okay. And yes, we do have a hole that goes up into our head under there. But if there's a shadow value that's a big contrast to all the other shadow values on your sculpture, that's where people's eyes are going to go. They're going to look straight at your nostril. And unless you want your nostril to be called, your sculpture to be called the nostril, you don't want their eye going straight there. So what I always suggest is filling it in, not putting a deep hole up in there. The other thing is, if you are going to mold and cast this either in resin or bronze or something, they can't do deep holes like that with the mold rubber. So what you just want is a little hint of a shadow under there. Okay, that's the right anatomical shape. So now, okay, I've closed that back in, and I'm gonna just give it this curved indention. It's almost the shape of my tool right here. See how one side of my handle is flat and then the other side's curved around. So this is the perfect curve to just press up in there. Create a suggestion of a shadow. The side of the nostril comes up higher, and then the base of the middle part of the nose is called the columella. That's this right here, underneath in the center. The bulb of the nose curves around, and then where it ties into the upper lip, it gets real narrow right here in this thing called the columella. And that is lower, the columella is lower than your nostrils, okay? I'm gonna actually take a little off right here. Raise that up. Like that. So that the sides of the nostril are up higher than the base, the center at the bottom of the nose. There's a little bony projection on the skull that sticks out right down there too, that helps shape all of that right at the base of the nasal opening. Okay, so I'm gonna do it again on this one and match them. Some of it I'm taking away to create that, but then a lot of it I can just press with my curved handle, okay, to create that mass. All right, now it's getting pretty good. Nostrils come in all different shapes. So do the bulbs of the nose. So does the bridge of the nose. A lot of people, you can see a slight, a slight shadow here, and especially here. A lot of people have that. I don't. But It's always fun to sit at a food court at a mall and watch people, some kind of public space, wear sunglasses so they don't think you're creepy and you're staring at them, but to study the variety of facial features. I also like to watch the news, TV, say, hey, there's the junction where the angle changes on the bridge of the nose. I can see it on that movie star. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to keep some lines here to help define the edges of the different mask shapes so that it's easy for you to understand all the shapes. A lot of anatomy is just where two forms meet, and there's a ridge or a furrow, a shadow line, or a crease, an edge of some kind, like all these lines that I just drew in. Okay, so here, that's the basics right there of the nose. Okay, and I did that before I sculpted the details in the eyes, before I did the details in the mouth, but I did have to have the masses of the eyes and the curvature of the maxilla, you know, the mass under the nose where the mouth's going to go, laid in. It's just going to make everything just fall into place as I progress. Okay, so I think we'll mosey on down to the mouth area. Okay, here's an interesting proportion. And I get my proportions basically from Loomis, Andrew Loomis. From the base of the nose to the chin, halfway, that right there, is the bottom of the bottom lip. Okay? And so that means that the center of the lip is obviously somewhere above that, right? So we're just going to lay it in like that. And we're going to come out in a straight line. Don't worry, it's not masked in yet or shaped in any way. I'm just laying in basic proportional lines for myself so that later I can add them in the right spot. Now, here's another thing I'm going to add. Just kind of eyeballing it where the center of the eyes is going to go. Okay. If I had them come straight down, they would come like this. And I've seen diagrams where they say that's where the corner of the mouth goes, but really most people, so the iris is the colored part of the eye, and it's wider, you know, it comes out from the center like this. So the outside edge of the iris is really about where most people's corners of their mouths go. So I'm going to widen this mouth past that center eye line that's going down just a little bit farther to where the outside of the iris would be instead. Okay. Now, you notice that I put a little angle where the line stops. Those angles are like this, right? Because there's something called a node. Its technical term is the modiolus. It's a lima bean shaped node It's not a muscle. It's actually where a bunch of face muscles attach with their tendons in this big node area at the corner of the mouth. Gives you your facial expressions. And when your cheek muscles flex in certain ways, it causes smiles or frowns, a pucker, or closing your lips more narrowly and all of that stuff. So that node is diagonal, which creates this diagonal line right at the edge or the corner of each side of the mouth. Okay, another thing I really want to stress is the curvature. So I'm going to show you, okay, the curved surface like this, okay, curved. The corners of the mouth are far back from the front middle part of the mouth. They're back that way, and that really is important. You wouldn't realize how far back. And then if they smile, man, those corners go way up in there, a lot more even. Okay, now I'm going to add just a little mass on those lima beans, not much. I'm going to fill that curve in just a little more here. And then I'm going to add barely any. I don't want to get carried away with the vermilion. That's the pink or red part of the lip. But I want a little extra mass to play with here. And it's pretty skinny. This is because I already have this bulged out. Okay, I'm going to put it up here. I added just a little bit of water. I'm going to blend the edge in with the mass that was already there. Okay, right along the top of the center line. Now I'm going to take my handy dandy tool with the flat edge. All right. In fact, you know what? I'll use a butter knife from my wife's kitchen drawer. Don't tell her I took it. Okay, because this is also a really great tool. Now, the upper part of the lip coming out of the nose, it's called the cutaneous lip. That's just regular skin coming out right here. Okay, goes this direction, right? Like this with my knife. So I'm going to turn my knife sideways and angle it out just a little in that direction like this. So it goes like that. But then where the red or pink part of the lip is, called the vermilion, watch my knife. It's going to flip this way. Okay, so now it's angling this direction. And all I'm going to do is press. And look what's happening. It's creating a shadow. Okay. It's a change of plane, creating a shadow. Now, it still looks funny because we haven't laid everything in yet. Okay. If you're a painter, by the way, you would be very keyed into the shadow tones values of the upper lip. You look around the room, everybody has them because light usually comes down this direction in the room or outside, and it hits the upper part of the lip, but then that angle that goes back is left in shadow. Okay. Now, even those up a little. Okay, now I'm going to talk about something called the philtrum. Okay, that's that groove in your upper lip that comes down to the vermilion, the pink part. Okay. Now the philtrum is like an upside down keystone shape. It's like a triangle with the tip cut off. Okay. Lay in your reference lines, you'll realize sometimes where your volumes of clay need to be added. I just drew that philtrum line, realized I needed to add a little more back there. Okay, now we're back on track. Now, I'm going to take, and notice that those lines go like this, and they don't touch up here. The center part of the nose, as it wraps around that part that's called the columella, actually is in between the philtrum lines, okay? But I'm going to take my curved little tool, and all I'm going to do is just press. And I'm going to press sort of at an angle along those lines so that it's wider at the base. And it's not very deep. I don't want a deep shadow there, okay? I got some extra mass of clay. I'll just press it under there because, you know, the upper lip has 3 sections. The upper part of the vermilion of the lip, the pink part of the lip. It has a section here, okay, over here on each side, and then one in the middle, okay? And that one in the middle is informed or influenced by the philtrum there, okay? It really is just where you keep indenting in between. Some people call it the Cupid's bow, okay? And it just does that. Now that's not severe, it's just a slight swell right there. And we're really starting to get some upper lip shapes, okay? Now, the lower lip is, I'm going to approach kind of the same way. I'm just going to add a little bit of mass, not hardly anything, just so I have something to shape. Okay. You might notice another thing, I'm not adding a ton of water. You know, if you're a potter, you got to have that lump of clay really wet in order for it to spin and your hands to slide over and shape it. Here, we've let the clay set up some. It's firmed up a little bit so that it's not so easy to cave in and distort the shapes that we're laying in. Okay, and I only want to add a little water when I'm going to attach a piece. Other than that, I'm being real stingy with it. Okay, just adding a little extra mass over there. Okay, now that almost looks like a bottom lip already. All I did was I added from about here to here a little coil of clay across there, but it's not quite there yet. So I'm going to take the flat edge of my butter knife, and so the philtrum angled this way, the vermilion or the another name for that Cupid's bow that sticks out underneath there on the upper lip is called the tubercle. Okay, that's the Cupid bow thing. It angles this way, and then the bottom lip angles back out that way. So really you have like this sideways M shape. I don't know if you can see it. It goes ch, 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 ch. Okay, I'll do it again. Ch, upper lip, philtrum. Ch, tubercle or Cupid bow. lower lip. And then under the lower lip comes back again. So that's a letter M, basically. A sideways letter M. Okay. So I'm going to angle this way. So in the right lighting, the bottom lip has lots of light on it. Okay. You can sort of see it if I turn it this direction. Now, the corner, I'm going to take out some because it doesn't stick out as much at the corners as the upper lip does. Okay, just a little. And since I wet some over here, it's super soft. It's softer than butter. It's real easy to take off too much. Now, under the lip looks weird. And here's the thing under there. There's a curve. It's actually called the labial mental curve that goes right up under the lower lip and curves side to side like this. It defines where the chin starts under that, and it also defines how the lip flips back in for that part of the letter M that I was talking about sideways. Now you can really see it. And also along that edge right here, it creates another sideways triangle. So under the lip, here and there, you can see a triangle. Okay. Now this, remember when we made that triangle like this? Well, we're going to come and indent around like this now. We're going to go outside that node. Here's that node. We go on the outside of that node and curve around almost down to the bottom of the jaw. So it goes like this. Okay. Curves around, and then it flows into this this curved line that we just laid in there. It goes like this. Okay. Float from the nasolabial fold. That's where that smile fold ends, is on the outside of the lima bean, the node, and it flows into another fold that comes around underneath here, up under the lip. Okay, so I'm going to lay that in on both sides. So this side over here, it's the far side from the video camera, and so I am not looking at it as much to give you a better view, and it's just constant need to keep adding mass to match it with the side I am demonstrating on. So, but it's good to, like, if you focus on one side a lot and you're laying everything in over there, you got to keep going back and forth frequently. Okay, use your calipers to measure. Probably another important thing that I should be demonstrating is to continue to add back the vertical center line on the entire face. Okay, like that. The reason is because then you should be constantly using your calipers to make sure that things are even from one side to the other. So I've laid this in over here, so I'm going to go from the center line over to there, and I'm going to match it over here. So when I see, look, I was starting to draw it not as wide as I should. I mean, we're talking like 1/8 of an inch. But that matters, right? So now I add out to that, and I know I'm accurate. I can do the same thing for the mouth itself. Okay, I measure to there. Then come over here. Hey, Charlie, I'm sorry you're coughing, buddy. He's on pills, just so y'all know, to take away the cough. He doesn't have heartworm, and he might have something called a collapsing trachea, which is a narrowing in his trachea. We had a miniature schnauzer that had that, and there wasn't anything we could do. So if that's the case, we just try to get some weight off of them. I feed them too much, and that'll help, and keep them healthy in other ways, because surgery really is too expensive and not guaranteed. So anyways, okay, so now as I'm laying stuff in, it's not going to be crooked because I've been measuring out from one side to the other accurately. All right, and then it indents. Take more out here. It reminds me of the Karate Kid, wax on, wax off, and martial arts where you practice your flow and the movements. These are lines of rhythm, okay? Like just like that. Line of rhythm comes around the nostrils, flares out around the node of the mouth, and then curves back up underneath the lip, the bottom lip, above the chin. Okay. Another thing at this stage is the chin itself. Is it receding too much? I've been adding a little mass to the lips, not hardly any, but just a little. So do I need to add a little to the front of the chin? Wouldn't hurt. If I was doing Jay Leno's portrait, absolutely. So everybody's a little different, but I'm adding some there. Okay. Now, just naturally, there's an angle that's occurring right here, tip of the nose to the chin. See how the lips are falling into that angle. The upper lip actually sticks out more than the bottom lip. Not a lot, but you can see a gap right there. Okay. And then the chin is back even more. Okay. Now, might not be actually touching in most cases as you do that, but it can definitely be this general angle that you'll see. It's also talking about body rhythms, lines of rhythm. It's also reproduced here, okay, almost the same angle right here that I've been talking about. And then the line from the cheekbone to the brow ridge, same angle. See, boom, boom, boom. Okay. These are things, they're subtle. We may not be consciously aware of them, but they really tie the parts of the face together, make it feel like one cohesive structure. And they're just part of the beauty of the human form. Really, all forms in nature have lines of rhythm, but the human form, that's one of the beautiful lines. Okay. Now, have you noticed something else as I'm here fine-tuning? Have you noticed that I'm not smoothing stuff a whole lot at this stage? Why am I not? the answer is because it'd be a big waste of time. Because I'm still adding mass, I'm still shifting things around to make sure proportions are accurate. If I were to take this to the next level and turn it into a portrait of someone, then I'd really be changing a lot from this point. This is just a generic head according to proportional canons of lengths and measurements. So I'd be changing a lot. So what's the point in giving it a finished smooth texture when you're not ready to? So here I'm adding just a little bit of volume for the skin. A lot of people have a big old thing of skin and muscle that comes right above the nose like that and ties into the side of the nose. I'm not going to go that far, but I'm adding a little bit of that. Okay. All right. Now I'm sort of letting that nasolabial fold become very subtle from right about here on down, just to make this person not look super, or I shouldn't say super old, but not look older. Kind of keep them a little more youthful. That's a big line right there that affects the appearance of age. Okay, so just so you know, if you're sculpting a person who is age sensitive, you might, especially if you're doing a portrait, you might make sure that you are real subtle with that line, that furrow. Okay, lip. Now I'm still noticing too much clay right here in this sideways triangle, so I'm just going to take a little out there. Even my fingernail is great. It's almost the same shape as this handle. Okay. There we go. Slight indentation right under the edge of the lip, the vermilion. That is called the lower vermilion border. Okay, the edge right down here. Okay. This up here is the upper vermilion border. Okay. Okay, now. All right. Defining this. As it goes back here into the corner of the mouth, it can really almost be like a gap, even when the person's mouth is closed right here. This is the deepest shadow value in the mouth if it's closed, right at the corners. Now, we talked about 3 sections to the upper lip. Okay, that middle one, because of the philtrum coming down from the nose, affecting and creating that middle tubercle is what it's called. The bottom lip does not have that. The bottom lip has two sections to it, and I'm just going to put a little trench in between them. Okay, here's a mass here, sideways, and a mass over here, sideways. Okay. I'll draw it in this. Some people you can almost see, or you can see a slight indentation right here at this little curve. And then that mass usually fills in and swells right to the edge of the vermilion here. And then as it goes on back, it stops. Okay, that mass stops before the lip stops. And so you can see me drawing that in, and then this little section here is flatter as it goes back to the corner of the mouth, see? And it also doesn't stick out quite as much, okay? So that's the basic shape there. Let me match it over here. Again, I'm taking out just a little. Now I'm getting very detailed with the little shapes here, which I'm not sure that, depending on the scale of your sculpture, that it would even show up. You may not even worry about that. Okay, I'm also over exaggerating it so that you really see it on camera, and you might not need to exaggerate it quite as much on your sculpture. Just as long as you look closely, you can see it. A little shadow here and there maybe is all you need to see from it. Okay, keep evening things out. Okay, there we go, we're getting there. Back up here. Okay. Now, we're getting pretty good. You know, we really have the masses laid in. I could go up to the eyes and the ears at this stage, and you'll notice that the mouth and nose are way more detailed than the rest of it. It makes it kind of look funny. So it's probably smart at this stage, instead of really adding finished detail to what I've just demonstrated, to go back and do other features to this stage and then smooth everything over at once to give it finished detail. Okay, but at this stage, you're just ready for refinement. And we have all the basic masses laid in. We're just going to try to even things out. So, another thing that's important is the shape of the jaw. Okay, the jaw comes out like this at a slight angle. And then there's another slight angle change. Right about here, right about where the center of the mouth is. It goes back up in front of the ear. I didn't really talk about where the ears go. They go from the base of the nose, lines up with the base of the ear, the top, the brow ridge, the eyebrow, to the top of the ear. And the ear is a slight angle. It's not straight up and down right here. It also should be behind the center line. If this is the center line of the head, not counting the nose, so from here to here, the ear is right behind that line. But since it's at an angle like this, top of it's back farther, and the front of it rests right on that center line. Okay, the jaw goes right to that center line. That's what made me think about it right now. And then as the skin and muscle wrap around, it actually goes past the center line, and as it goes back in towards the skull and the neck. Okay. Also, under the chin, the skin of the throat comes straight out this way, and then down into the neck, whereas the line of the jaw angles up. So really, you would have skin coming straight over here, and then you're gonna blend clay up in there for the jawline. Okay, haven't been doing that yet because I've been pushing with my fingers and creating mass. A good thing about doing this and pushing from the inside is you keep your clay from getting too thick. Okay, and then you don't have to carve out from the inside as much before you fire it. So watch the other videos on the eyes and ears when I get them up, and hope this was good. Don't forget to like. I appreciate you watching. Bye.